Hi, boys and girls. My name is Miss Jennifer, and I'm a teaching artist in the PACE Art program. I am here today to do a fun art lesson with you. I am so glad that you could join me. Today we'll be doing a science-based art lesson. We'll be focusing on a flower and parts of a flower. For this lesson, we'll be learning about several different kinds of flowers, a famous artist, and a few of her famous flower paintings. We will be drawing a flower today in the style of Georgia O'Keeffe. The supplies that you will need today will be 2 sheets of white paper, a variety of crayons, a variety of markers, making sure that you either have a black or a brown marker also. You will also need a pencil today. Today, we will be using lines, shapes, and colors for our lesson. We will focus on words like inside, outside, on top of, sides, and middle. We will learn about a way of enlarging a picture, which means basically making a picture bigger. We will be using both markers and crayons today. We will do some color mixing and some color blending with our colors. We will also add some details to our drawing. We will also talk about different sizes, different shapes, and different colors. So boys and girls, you will see here that I have my picture of my flower that I made, and we're going to be working on this today together. And then I have some pictures of a lady. This lady's name is Georgia O'Keeffe. And Georgia O'Keeffe was an American artist, and she loved to paint and draw. Here you will see a picture of Georgia O'Keeffe when she was a young lady. Here she was also fairly young, and here she was a lot older. And you will see Georgia O'Keeffe is sitting next to a cup of paintbrushes and paintbrushes along the windowsill. She loved painting. Georgia O'Keeffe started drawing when she was about 10 years old. She always knew that she wanted to be an artist, and later in life she started painting. She painted over 200 flower pictures. She not only painted flowers, but she painted buildings, she painted landscapes, animal bones, and a lot more. Animal bones, Miss Jennifer, what do you mean? Well, she lived on the desert where it was very hot, and a lot of times she would find animal skeletons or bones while she was taking long walks. And she would pick them up and bring them back to her studio. Now, a studio is a place in which an artist makes art. And this is a picture inside of her studio. She would take those bones and she would draw them and she would paint them as she did with flowers. She would also pick flowers along her walks too. Now, Georgia O'Keeffe had a certain style of art, and that is that she would look at something that was very small. And her idea is that she wanted to see all of the beauty in that small flower or that small rock or that small piece of bone. And so her idea was, in order to see the true beauty of what she had, she would make them very large. She would study the colors, the sizes, the shapes, and that is what she has become pretty famous for, is making these pictures of things that are very large. So boys and girls, as you can see, I have a lot of flowers and I am ready to get started. Here I have 3 pictures that are of Georgia O'Keeffe's paintings. And as you can see, she liked to draw her flowers very big. She liked to take her time and she liked to look at all of the different parts of the flower. Here you will see that I have a couple of flowers that we could actually look at when we're drawing today to kind of give us an idea of maybe the kind of flower that we would want to draw. So today we're going to be drawing a flower in the style of Georgia O'Keeffe. we're going to make sure that we draw our flower very large. Georgia O'Keeffe used to say that she painted nature in the way that it showed how it made her feel. So today we're also going to kind of think of how does it make us feel when we're making our picture. So we're going to be using a pencil today to start off. Now Miss Jennifer has a different kind of pencil from what you have. This is a drawing pencil. And the reason I'm going to use a drawing pencil instead of our regular writing pencil is because you can see it a lot better when I draw. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our piece of paper. Just put it laying on its side horizontally and put it in front of us. This is going to be our practice paper. Then what I want you to do is I want you to draw 1, 2, and 3 rectangles. Now they don't have to be perfect. As you can see, not all of Miss Jennifer's rectangles are the same size. It is okay. So let's draw them very large. Now, if you drew it so that it is this small, that is not big enough. If you drew it so that it's this size, that is still not big enough. It needs to be about this big, kind of like fits your hand inside of it. So we have 3 different ones. Because when Georgia O'Keeffe would make her paintings, as you can see here, for the most part, you see most of the painting. But sometimes she would make her flowers so that they were this large, and you kind of don't see the outside edge of the petals. You see more of the inside of the flower. And other times, she made it even bigger to where you just saw part of the flower. So we're going to be doing some practicing today on drawing very large. Now, if you look carefully here, we'll see that we have this beautiful flower. If we think about looking at it this way, this is kind of how Georgia would look at it. She wouldn't look at the whole flower all the time. Sometimes she would just look at part of the flower, maybe the inside and parts of the petal. Here I have a beautiful sunflower, and another way that she might have looked at it is maybe just part of the sunflower. So as you can see, this is just part of the sunflower, maybe just the part with the seeds and the petals on the side. So Georgia O'Keeffe sometimes would just pick a certain part of the flower to draw. Now I want you to look at this flower right here. This right here is a pink tiger lily. And it is really pretty. And another thing that Georgia focused on were the colors of her flowers or anything that she was painting. Colors were very important to her, and she liked very bright colors. She liked for things to be very colorful, very bright, and sort of happy looking. So again, this is our tiger lily flower. And here I have a picture of parts of this tiger lily. So if we look here, we of course see what here? Those are the petals. We see the petals. And then right here, this is called the stamen. That part is right inside of the flower here. That is the part that kind of gets the pollen when the bees fly from flower to flower. And then we have these. This is the pistil. And this part right here, anybody know what this might be? Well, if you said the pollen, you were right. Tiger lilies have lots of pollen. So these are the little parts of the pollen. And so this is what the inside part right here looks like of the flower. And if you look carefully here, you can see all of those parts right here. And so I'm showing you this because as we're drawing today, we're going to be looking at these different parts of the flower because remember, Georgia looked very closely at what she had in the middle of her flower as she was drawing. All right, so there we go. So we're going to start off first, and in the first box, we're going to draw a flower. Now you could pick one of these flowers if you want to draw, or maybe you just want one from your imagination, and that is fine. So here I'm going to start off with my flower, and I think I'm going to draw a flower like this. This is a pink hibiscus flower. And so watch, Miss Jennifer. I'm going to look very close at the middle of my flower. And in the middle of my flower, it sort of looks a little like this. I'm going to put it a little closer for you so you can see that's that little center part. Then the next thing that I want to do is I want to draw my petals. And so here would be one petal and another petal. And they don't have to be perfect. And there you go. And there's my flower. And of course on the inside there's these little lines, just like this. Now notice something. My flower is fairly large. Now I'm going to let you continue to use your pencil to do all of this part, but I'm going to get a marker so that you can see it a little better. Are we using a marker right now? No, we're using a pencil. But I am going to trace over the different parts that I made so that you can see it a little bit better. And I want you to notice something. As you're looking at this box right here, this rectangle, you can see all of my flower. I made sure that my whole flower fit. Now again, we went over the fact that we had one that was too small, this one was really too small again, and then this one was about just right. So this is about the size that we needed. Miss Jennifer's just going to trace over them for you so you can see them a little bit better. Alright, so here I see all of my flower. Now, I want you to go ahead and I want you to think of a flower, maybe one of these flowers up here, and I want you to draw your flower in your rectangle. Now let's pay attention. If I have my rectangle, am I making my flower this small? No, I want to make it about this big on my paper. So go ahead and draw your flower now. Good job, boys and girls. Your flowers are looking nice. Now make sure that your flower is not too small. You want it to fill up a good part of your rectangle here. Good job. All right. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the same flower, but instead, this time I want my flower to be bigger when I draw it. So here I go. So I'm going to draw this part a little bit bigger. And again, I'm going to draw my petals. And something happened right here to the outside of my petal. It got cut off the edge of my paper. But don't worry, that's okay. Because remember, George O'Keeffe did the same thing. The petals are cut off of the edge of our paper. Our idea is that we want to make our flower so large that we don't see the edges of our petals. And then here, again, I'm going to draw petal, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same. And this one's kind of going off the edge of my paper, and one more. And in here I'm going to just put my little dashes. Now you can see that the second flower is a lot bigger than the first flower that I made. Now, our idea, making it bigger. For this one, we're going to make it even bigger. So I want you to go ahead and take some time, and I want you to draw your second flower right now, making sure that it's bigger than the first one that you made. Now you might want to draw the same flower and not change your flower right now, because we want it to be the same flower so that we can see how it looks as it gets larger. Good job, boys and girls. Your flowers are looking fabulous. All right, now on to the next one. Am I going to make this one smaller or larger? Larger, good job. All right, so I'm going to start with the middle, and this time I'm going to make it a lot bigger with all my little dashes inside. Now, what do you think is going to happen to my petals if I'm making it larger? Yes, you're right. It's going to cut off the edge of our paper. And that is okay, because even in this picture, remember, George O'Keeffe drew just a little part of it, And so you don't even really see half of the flower here, and that is okay. So here we go. So now our petals are going to go off the bottom and sides of our paper. And there we go. Super large flower. This is what George O'Keeffe did. And believe it or not, she would draw this out before she would start painting. She would draw it smaller, and then a little larger, and then a little larger. And now your flower should be cut off the edge of your paper, just like this. So let's do that now. Now, if for some reason yours is not quite coming off the edge of the paper and you need to make one more rectangle to do that, you can also do that. And this is also something that you can practice at another time when you have extra time, is practice making it bigger and bigger. All right, so good job. Now, the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving on to our paper that we're going to be drawing on. You will see that Miss Jennifer has her paper horizontally. It's laying on its side. It's really up to you if you want it horizontally or if you want it standing tall in front of you. It is okay. All right, so I'm finished with this flower now, so I'm going to actually put that one back. And now, the flower that I think I want to draw is similar to this flower. White flower, and the red on the background was red clay. She laid the flower on red clay, probably onto the ground. And this one is a red poppy, and this one is a purple petunia. This one's a purple daisy. This one is a cosmo. This one is a hibiscus. This one is a dahlia. This one is a pink tiger lily. And this one here is anybody know? It's really pretty. It is another kind of daisy. And so as you can see, not only are the flowers different sizes, shapes, and colors, but they all have different names. And so I think I'm going to be drawing my white flower today. You can pick any one that you want. And let's get started. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start in the middle. And in the middle, I need to have a circle. Now yours may not have a circle. It may be like this one or maybe even like this one. Because remember, the good thing today, our flowers can be different. You can pick the one that you want. So I'm drawing the middle, and I drew it kind of large because remember, I want it to be big. Now, my flower is going to be bigger than this picture today. And there we go. Now, here are the little parts of the pollen. And so I'm going to draw the little parts of the pollen. And the way I'm doing that is sort of a curved line with another curved line. And I'm just going to draw them really large, just like this around my flower. And then I'm going to connect them to the inside of my flower, just like this. Because on a real flower, they would be connected to the inside. Now remember, I told you that George O'Keeffe looked very carefully at the flower, just like in this one. This is the pollen right here. Look at all these little wavy lines. She looked at that flower really good as she was working. All right. Now, on the inside, I also could have maybe some little dots. Maybe that's some more pollen. Maybe that kind of dropped off onto the inside of my flower. So we could do that. So right now, you should have the middle of your flower and maybe the pollen parts of your flower drawn. All right, now I want to draw my petals. So here I go. I'm going to draw a really large one here. And notice something. My petal went off the edge. And that's okay. I'm going to do the same thing to this side. So here's a petal. And here's a petal. And you know the beautiful thing about flowers? Not all of the petals are the same. If you look at this flower, these petals are very different from the top petals. All right. And then here I'm going to draw the top petal and my bottom petal, making sure that my flower goes off the edge of the paper. So if you have your picture like this and your flower fits on your paper just like this, it's not quite big enough. Now it's okay for today, but you might want to practice later making it very large. Now, another thing that I want to talk about are details. Details are all of the small parts when we're drawing. The details would be the little dashes of pollen, the little pollen parts here. Sometimes we can even draw lines on the inside of things like our petals, and those would all be the details. Maybe you even want to have some details right on the inside part. So details are the lines that we draw that kind of show us the smaller parts of our picture. And so there we go. Now I'm going to do one more thing, and that's going to be, I'm going to draw a leaf right here. So here is a big old leaf, and here are some veins on my leaf. And if you want to draw more leaves, you can. Notice that my leaf is off the side of my paper. Now that we finished our drawing, it is time to color. Now, you might have picked up your black marker and drew your flower with your black marker, and if you did, that's okay. But if you drew it with your pencil, you might want to take some time to trace over all of your lines, your pencil lines that is, with your marker. But you don't even have to do that. You could simply just use your markers to trace your pencil lines as you are coloring today. So today we're going to use markers and crayons at the same time. How much fun is that? Now I think instead of making a white flower, even though that's what I drew, I think that I want my flower to be a different color. Maybe more of this purplish pink color. You could always change the colors. And so what I'm going to start off with is my purple marker. And I am going to, and you can go ahead and do this too, I'm going to start with my marker, and I'm going to start coloring in. Now we're not coloring all of our flower with our markers. So maybe you could trace around the outside lines, just like this. Maybe you could color some parts of it with the marker, just like this. Maybe some parts on the inside of these lines, like that. Right, and you would do that to each of your petals. And so I'm going to do that again down here on the bottom. I'm going to kind of go around, and I'm going to color some of it in. I'm going to color some closer to this part. Now remember, I'm not coloring this part because this is the pollen. That's going to be a different color. And then I can trace around this line right here, and I can color some of it in. Now it's really up to you. Maybe you want to color maybe some of the inside in with your marker. You can also do that too. The most important part is let's just make sure that we go back and we color in all of the white paper so that we're not seeing a whole lot of it on our picture. Alright, so there we go. Good job. Now I'm not going to keep going and coloring all of my purple, but what I would suggest is that you color all of one color first, all the way around your flower, before you start another color. But I want to have enough time to do some coloring with you today, but I don't think I have time to color all of my flower. The next thing I want to do is I want to use some pink, because here I had some purple and some pink. And so maybe here I could add some pink on the inside, just like this. I can maybe color closer. Just be careful when you're coloring with markers. If you're coloring next to a dark color, like my purple's dark and my pink is lighter, sometimes the purple will get on your marker. So you have to be really, really careful if your marker's color is not dry yet. And here I could actually add some pink to my petal, just like this. Alright, and so notice I did it a little different. Of course you would want to take time and you want to go back and you want to color in all of the white, just like that. Alright, so now I have my marker on my petals. The next thing that I want to do is I want to use crayons, because today we're using a mix of markers and crayons. And the cool thing about crayons is we can sort of mix and blend the colors together. Now, what does that mean? That means that we can color the colors right next to each other or a little bit on top of each other, and those colors will kind of mix and blend together. So watch me. So here I'm going to use my crayon. Now you're going to see that your marker is going to be a lot darker than your crayon. When you're coloring, you don't want to press really hard. You want to press really soft, so that you can tell the difference between your crayon and your marker. So here's my purple. Now remember, I said we could do some color mixing and we could do some color blending. So there is my purple. Now I have a pink. And the next thing that I could do is I could actually go in and look at this. I am blending that purple and that pink together simply by coloring one color on top of the other. So for example, here is my purple, and I can mix or blend it by going back and adding some of my pink on top. Now your first color, you're probably going to want to color it very lightly. Your second color, you might need to color just a little bit darker for it to show. And so there we go. I have my pink and my purple together. Now I want to add another color. And I think that is going to be blue. So then I'm going to just simply, again, mix or blend those colors, just like this. So boys and girls, now we have the different parts of our flower. We have our petals. Of course, we have leaves that we kind of didn't talk about earlier, but flowers do have leaves. We have the middle part. We have the pollen. We have the pistil. And guess what? I'm getting ready to color my pollen, and my pollen's going to be sort of an orange and yellow mix together. So here, I'm going to color some orange first, just like this. And then I'm going to get another color, and that's going to be my yellow. And here I go. I'm going to color some yellow. And there I go. There's my pollen. And on the inside, I could also color the inside of my flower yellow, because maybe that's a little bit of pollen in the inside also. I can also maybe color in, you know what, I'm kind of like scribbling over it like this, kind of scribbling. I can kind of scribble over and I can add some orange. So good job. All right, so if you even wanted to add another color to your petals, you definitely could do that. Now I'm going to skip on over to my leaf now. And my leaf, I know, is going to be green, but I'm going to kind of put some different color greens. And you know what? I'm going to use my yellow again. So I'm going to start first with my darker green. And remember, my leaf goes off the edge of my paper too, just like this. And these are veins on the inside of our leaf. So I'm going to color the darker parts. I'm going to get a lighter green. I'm going to color lighter on the inside. Now this one kind of looks like it's yellow. It's called a green yellow. And so there we go. And then I'm actually going to add some yellow. And the cool thing is that you can mix and blend those colors together simply by coloring one color on top of the other. And I think I want to go back and maybe I want to add a little bit of a darker green. And there you go. I now have the colors for my leaf. And of course, you would continue coloring the rest of your flower. I am out of time for coloring today, but when you have extra time, you can color. Today, we learned about the artist Georgia O'Keeffe. We looked at a couple of her flower paintings. We learned about Georgia O'Keeffe's style of drawing and painting. We talked about the parts of a flower, and we drew our flower very large on our paper today. We focused on different sizes, different shapes, and different colors. If you have extra time later, you can go ahead and you can add more color to your picture. It was really fun creating these pictures with you today, and I am so glad that I could do art with you today. So until next time, let's keep making art.